Now for something rather different. The US Defense Department has acknowledged running a secret multi-million-dollar program to investigate unidentified flying objects, or UFOs. The New York Times says the program was launched 10 years ago at the request of a former and senior Democratic Senator Harry Reid. The Pentagon has confirmed that the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program ended in 2012. But is it continuing under another guise within the vast universe of the US defence establishment? Well, we can speak now to Nick Pope, former UFO investigator for the British Ministry of Defence. He's on webcam from California. Nick, thanks for joining us on BBC World News. Does this have the ring of truth to you?
Yes, absolutely. This program definitely took place. In one sense, it's not surprising that the US government was investigating UFOs. The real story, I think, is the fact that they had denied it so vehemently for so many years.
It seems that a lot of the work took place within a private company, this company that was run by billionaire Robert Bigelow, who's still very involved in space.
Yes, that's a classic tool within the intelligence community to make things like congressional scrutiny and Freedom of Information Act requests more difficult. And effectively, it takes it outside of the scope of freedom of information altogether. And indeed, we did a similar thing in the Ministry of Defense with a classified intelligence study that we did on the UFO mystery. So again, that part of it I can well understand.
If they'd found anything, would they tell us?
No, almost certainly not. This thing was highly classified, very deeply compartmentalized, and one of the reasons why there may have been all these denials that the US government was looking at this phenomenon at all was that most of the rest of the government probably didn't know. I mean, that's always the way with these highly classified projects.
What's your view? Is there any kind of smoking gun here? I mean, it all seems rather fantastical, but you know, it's possible.
Yes, indeed. I mean, now, the vast majority of these things, the sightings that they'll have looked at, will turn out to be misidentifications of things like drones and atmospheric weather phenomena. But, you know, the skeptics have to be right every day. The believers only have to be right once. And clearly the government was doing, I think, a proper thing, taking a look at these things going on in its airspace. And there are some fascinating gun camera footage beginning to emerge as a result of this story, where jet aircraft have chased these things, whatever they are.
Now, the man whom the New York Times names as running this program, Luis Elizondo, says to the New York Times that the effort continued unofficially and he had a successor. Do you think it's likely that investigations like this do still go on?
Yes, absolutely. Even though the funding plug seems to have been pulled, all the things that governments need to investigate UFOs, the radar systems, the imagery analysis, expertise and computer processing power, all that exists anyway as part of the wider defense network. So you can actually, if you kind of massage the figures and say there's no additional cost to this because the resources are already there, you can continue the program on a sort of quasi-official basis. And that, I'm sure, is what's happening.
Nick Pope, former investigator for the Ministry of Defence. Fascinating stuff, and thank you for speaking to us.